To put it simply, this docuseries can be summed up in 3 words: Blackness, belonging, and connection. In the summer of 2022, when the world was still recovering from COVID-19, we gathered at the historic Dunbar Pavilion in Tucson, Arizona, and created a space with the intention of bringing Black strangers together to recover and restore and to reflect through intergenerational conversations. Here are their stories.
My name is Jihad. I was born in Tucson, Arizona.
I am Tiera Rainey, also a Tucson native. So I'm gonna start us off by reading our first card. So can you tell us about yourself?
I was born in Tucson, Arizona. I've been here all my life. I went to elementary here, junior high, and high school. And I just love Tucson. And I love telling people I am from Tucson. How about yourself?
I'm a second generation Tucsonan, so I also wear my Tucson pride very loud. And I think especially the fact that I'm a Black Tucsonan is very important to me and integral to my identity, because so many, I think people often are surprised to hear that there are Black people from here who grew up here. And I'm like, we've been here. And I really like to, I think, celebrate not just the history of Black Tucson, but I recognize that being a Black person of the desert, that it's really shaped everything about me. So yeah. So what is bringing you joy lately?
What's bringing me joy is that I've been retired for, I think, 14 years. I had to take an early retirement as a plumber. So now I get to just do whatever I want, anytime I want, just enjoy it, just every day. So one of my hobbies is I'm a quilter, and so that's bringing me a lot of joy.
So I run a nonprofit here in Tucson called the Tucson Second Chance Community Bail Fund.
Nice.
And what we do is provide free bail assistance to people being held at Pima County Jail.
And that's part of your joy?
Yeah, I mean, it's that's a complicated answer. It is part of my joy. Like, I'm very mission oriented just as a person, but obviously I think there's a lot of intensity and pain that also comes with doing that work. You're dealing with people who are going through, honestly, some of the worst times of their life, and I feel so honored and privileged to be able to help people in our community, and we particularly focus on Black and Brown and Indigenous people that are held in there. But you just recognize what a small drop in the bucket that is, right? In terms of the overall picture of what mass incarceration does to our community and to our families. So I think it's kind of a mixed bag.
Right. So what is it like for you being Black in Tucson?
I guess I would say I feel angry a lot being a Black person in Tucson. I feel like it is something that I often have to justify my existence. I hate that when I'm from here, that people are like, oh, I didn't know there were Black people in Tucson. Oh, and it gets kind of tiresome having to own my identity, and also this idea that we are not of this place when we are of this place. Right. We're literally sitting in a segregated school because, considering how small the Black population was in Tucson, they still felt the need to have a Blacks-only school, right? And I think that that's the point, that we have been here. I mean, Dunbar Springs as a whole, it's gentrified now, but there's a reason why all of this is here, because it's right by the railroad tracks, right? Exactly. And Black folks were also highly segregated, and Tucson still deals with the legacy of these things, right? And so all that to say, I am very proud of being a Black Tucsonan, but I definitely feel like this city loves to erase our presence and history and act as though we're not a piece of the fabric of this city. And I think that that's something I really struggle with.
Yeah, for me, being Black in Tucson, it's always been kind of hard because I've always been accused of not being aware of what's going on to Black people in Tucson, because I'm trying to be above it all. Yeah. Just living my life and enjoying myself. So I always focus on that, to enjoy myself, and just be above the negativity.
Yeah.
But then you have this side of like, I grew up on South Park, part of Tucson, and it was considered a historical Black neighborhood. And so that was my community, and that's where my identity comes from. And my community is mostly like, these people were very resilient, and they had this like courage to just do their own thing and be their own people. I never felt like there's nowhere I can go in Tucson.
Yeah.
I never felt uncomfortable, like even when I went to Sabino Canyon, you know what I mean? And I'm the only Black person there. I was oblivious.
I mean, that's Tucson for you.
Exactly.
Like, if that bothered you, you would never go anywhere.
That's right. It never bothered me. So to me, being Black in Tucson is just being happy and, just enjoy yourself.
What does Blackness mean to you, and what has shaped your Blackness?
I think just growing up and coming from a single parent, my mother, she moved here in 1952, Mississippi, and just seeing how young she was 18 years old when she came here, just hearing her stories and and how hard she worked. So I don't know if I really identified that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
I don't think I had such an explicit identity of Blackness until I was older. Right now, it's like I could describe all the things that make me a Black woman, right, in a way that I couldn't probably even 10 years ago. But it's not to say that Blackness wasn't a part of me. It was just, exactly how you're saying, I just felt like it's just who I am. But like, I don't think could talk about the cultural pieces of it so clearly.
Think of it more as you have a responsibility now.
Yes.
And then you want to be, an example for your community or other young Black people coming up. So that can be, I guess that can be considered. And for me, actually, I have to just add to it is that it may remind me of like just certain type of food, that the way how we cook African American food here. Yeah. To me, it's totally different from people how they do it from the South. Yeah. You know what I mean? So.
I feel like we have a lot of mixed traditions, like we have enchiladas in our family, but also it's like my grandparents are from Texas, which is, I feel like, quasi the South. So my grandpa still likes to eat watermelon with salt, for example, right? Like, we're just like a mix of traditions, and I feel like that's very...
So I might have to take that a step further.
Yeah.
Add a little pepper on that.
I know, I'm like, no.
And then, like you said, how it's just, we have all these different cultures here, and it comes a part of your identity.
What is life about for you? What do you find most gratifying in your life right now?
Right now, like, being that, believe it or not, I'm a senior. And health means a lot to me. Yeah. Health, and especially just health of spirit, good vibes. So that's been the most important to me.
Whew, I'm like, I don't know. I work a lot. I mean, I guess organizing is a very big part of my life. Right. And I think maybe especially we've had 2 years of pandemic. So I think that it was really easy for work to take up a lot of space, and there's just so much, I think, crisis going on. There's just, I feel like I'm very focused on trying to be of service to others. And I do find that incredibly gratifying, but I think I'm also trying to learn how to implement a lot more self-care, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And like, that has been a really hard lesson to learn. And so things that are really gratifying, I went on the first family vacation with like my father and my sister in like 15 years. We went to Mexico together. And just, I think really just appreciating my relationships with my family more than anything. Do you feel you have access to Black community and culture in Tucson? If so, where?
Well, it's like on certain holidays that, like Juneteenth, and that's always been a big one here. Yeah. I guess church, you get to go to church and you see a lot of Black communities. And now for me, I've been introduced to Dunbar. So hopefully this become my new community. And, that it becomes an institution that serve this community and serve the Black people in our community. So.
Yeah, I would definitely say a big piece of Black community, again, is just my family, especially my grandmother, because so many of her friends, she's been friends with them for like 40 years.
Yeah.
I've known them since I was a child. That community of elders really is my sense of home, right? And I feel like my grandma, going to my grandma's house for coffee and just being with all these older Black women, I feel like that's a really big piece of my experience of Black community. Where did or do you see yourself at my age, at 35?
Yeah, when I was at your age, I thought I was pretty smart. And I thought I was headed in the right direction. I thought I was doing all the right things. And, and then I realized I wasn't forgiving enough and passionate enough and just appreciating my elders enough, so what would you?
Oh, well, so I guess what I would hope if I'm here at 56, if I'm fortunate enough to reach that age, I hope I would reach a place of more self-acceptance, more self-love. I would hope I would continue to cultivate a life filled with joy and family. And, I'm not sure if it will be in Tucson or not. I'm not sure if we'll have water here by the time I'm 56. But yeah, hopefully if that's the case, I would love all of those things to come to pass.
So what do I appreciate from the person that's sitting across from me? And I first appreciate your beautiful smile.
Thank you.
And that you are just a young, bright mind. And I appreciate that you're part of this project and I've partnered up with you. I appreciate about myself, I like to think of myself as a genuine person and just being loving and kind. And I just appreciate that about myself. And I appreciate being a Black man and surviving. So.
That's great. What I appreciate about myself is that I'm always open to new experiences, and I decided to do this just randomly, and I'm really glad that I did, and I'm glad that I continue to always explore, because I recognize that life is just so full of pleasant surprises, and you might always think you know what's up, and then you meet someone really amazing who does quilting in Tucson that you had no idea existed. And what I appreciate about you is that you bring just so many pleasant surprises. Like, you have such a rich life experience as an elder, and I can feel your warmth and, as you said, your compassion just has shined through this entire process, and I feel so honored to have gotten to sit next to you during this process.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
So,
Stay Black, right?